Page 333, Chapter 20, Accident 1 and Accident 2. Each afternoon after school, I worked at Mr. Lundgren's dairy farm. It was hard work, but it was honest and rewarding. Rewarding meaning I was saving for a down payment on a good car. My old DeSoto field car had bit the dust when my brother Denny was home on leave and busted all the shocks and springs. I was now nearing 16, and though I bemoaned the fate of my first car, I suddenly had Chevy fever, real bad. Memories of a recent mishap at my farm job did not deter me from my goal. I was going to get that Chevrolet no matter what. The work accident was something I tried not thinking about, but every time I saw the back end of a cow, it was a brutal reminder of what had happened a few days before. Mr. Lundgren's old dairy barn was built on a hillside, and the cow stanchions were on the bottom floor. While the cows were out grazing, catching butterflies, and looking picturesque, it was my job to clean the barn gutters. Shoveling their leavings, shit, piss, and whatever was not for the faint of heart. This heavy, wet, slimy stuff had to be shoveled into a huge tub that hung high overhead above the gutter. The tub ran on a track, and as you filled it, you moved it forward. When it was full, you pushed it outside, pulled the lever, and dumped it on the manure pile. Eventually, it was spread onto the fields, making the grass grow. The grass was harvested, the cows ate the grass turned to shit, and the whole process started all over again. My job was about done. I had filled the tub twice, dumped it outside, and now the big tub was nearly full again as I reached the end of the gutter. It hung groaning and swinging on the rail near the end of the barn. As I was shoveling the last of the heavy liquid up into the tub, I heard a little click. Just one. One little click. As I looked up, the huge tub let loose, dumped over, and drove me to the ground. Its massive eruption of green, brown, liquid shit stunned me and drove the breath right out of my lungs. Gasping for air, I rose to my feet, stumbled out of the barn, and fell into the snow outside. Laying there blinded by the salty cow piss and green foul liquid, I knew I had to keep control and get myself out of this bad situation. The more I thought, the more enraged I became. I scrubbed my face against the ground, threw the big shit shovel into the dark, and headed for home. It was a cold, long, angry walk across the wind-swept fields. As my overalls and stocking hat began to freeze to my body, I knew I'd better hurry or I'd be in big trouble. Then I thought, no, you won't be in big trouble. You'd be in deep shit. The humor of it hardly warmed me up, and I hurried on my way. The walk across the fields still seemed much longer this time because the wind and snow were relentless. It was only the beginning of November, yet seemed like January as I stumbled across cornstalk stubbles and pushed through the goldenrods. Mom had seen me coming across the fields and wondered why I was home so early. She met me at the back door, and seeing my icy, cow shit covered clothes shocked her greatly. However, her sympathy instinct abruptly faltered when she shouted, "Oh, no, you're not coming into this house. You strip right down where you stand, young man." I peeled off my clothes quickly as I could and rushed into the house in my underwear. Mom gave me a wide berth as I shot through the door. As I passed, she shouted, "I've already got the hot water running. Go straight to the bathroom and jump right in." The next day, my boss called and said he had fixed the bucket. He wanted to know if I was willing to come back to work, and even offered a nickel pay raise. I wanted that Chevy real bad. I swallowed my pride, and that afternoon I was shoveling again. Working away and keeping a sharp eye on that tub, I didn't hear the two men come into the barn. When they cleared their throats, probably because of the smell, I turned around, and there they were. Dressed in nice suits and fedoras, they looked like either detectives or salesmen. I opted for detectives. I was very close. They introduced themselves as FBI agents and seemed very uncomfortable in their surroundings, especially the shorter one, whose eyes kept darting here and there. It was obvious he had never been in a barn before, and he seemed to be watching for a mouse with a machine gun. The mouse didn't appear, but he still gazed around with squinty eyes, as if something was bothering him. Then I realized it was the ode to cow in the air. I noticed they were both standing on fresh, shit-stained concrete, and oddly took great comfort in knowing the smell of it would stay on their shoes for weeks. You can dry clean fancy suits, but your stinky shoes are on their own. A moment later, they asked me to step outside. But the damage was done. It only takes 7 seconds or so for cow barn smell to permeate your clothes and your hair forever. Once outside in the sunshine, they seemed a bit more relaxed. So relaxed, in fact, they almost took pleasure in delivering me the bad news. With a smile on his face, the short one told me my buddy Pat had blown himself up and was in the hospital. As he continued, he told me not only had Pat blown himself, but also the window of a hot dog shop straight to smithereens. They said he was burned badly, but would easily survive. Getting those quick facts out of the way, they got down to business. The ancient wanted to know where Pat had got the bomb. That's all that was on their minds. Where did he get that bomb? Pat had mentioned my name as a friend, yet honestly didn't know the kids who sold it to him. Funny, neither did I. I may have been a farm kid, but I had been through enough to know how to keep my mouth shut. Things have a way of coming back to bite you in the butt, and I didn't have a very big one. 20 minutes later, after trying all their games and angles to slip me up, the agents finally left in disgust. We may be back, the little one snapped. Not much a chance of that, the other one grumbled as they drove away. Damn, I stink something awful. I hurried to finish my chores and raced home. Cleaning up to hitchhike to the hospital, Mom asked me what was going on. My instinct was to tell her Pat had been in a car accident, but I told her the truth. When she tried to question me about the bomb, she had as much luck as Mr. Tall and Mr. Shorty. I made good time and got there before visiting hours were over. Stepping into Pat's room, I was shocked to see him lying there, wrapped up like a mummy. From his waist to the top of his head, wide white gauze went around and around, seeming to go on forever. Even his hands were covered right to the fingertips. He had little slits in the gauze where his eyes were supposed to be, and a slit to eat and drink. He snickered as soon as he saw me, and he sat up in bed, ready to tell me about his grand adventure. For God's sakes, what did you do? What did you do? I stammered. Ha ha! Don't make me laugh. It hurts when I laugh, he chortled. That was Pat, wrapped up like King Tut's brother, and he thought it was hilarious. To be continued in the next video.